Hi there. Welcome to Covet, the world's most powerful veterinary AI co-pilot. I'm Dr. Mike Mossop, and we're thrilled that your group has chosen our platform. I'm here to give you a quick tour and to show you everything you need to know to get up and running with Covet today. I'll start by mentioning that you can access Covet from any device. What you're looking at here is Covet on a web browser on my desktop computer. Simply go to our website to log in, or you can access Covet on your mobile device or tablet through our Android and Apple applications. It's worth noting that anything you do on one device will automatically synchronize to your account on every other device. So when I'm in practice, in a lot of cases, I'll use a mobile phone as a recording device and then review my records on a desktop computer. When you start with Covet, you're going to land on a new case screen, and more than likely, you're going to want to start by hitting the new recording button. Once you get there, you simply start recording. And I'll mention that Covet is designed to capture ambient two-way conversation between you and a client. It will basically leave out all the chit-chat and organize all of the medically relevant details for you. However, you can also speak directly to Covet, and that's what I'll do for the purposes of our demonstration today. So I'll say today we were seeing Mrs. Jones. She brought in her dog, Steven, who is a 5-year-old male neuter Jack Russell Terrier. He presented for an annual checkup and vaccinations. He's generally doing well. She didn't have any concerns. He eats Royal Canin kibble 2 cups a day, and he's on NexGard Spectra for monthly parasite prevention. We did a physical exam, and he weighed 9.5 kilograms. His heart rate was 100. He was panting, so I couldn't get a respiratory rate. Very friendly dog, social, taking treats, and good for the exam. He's got moderate tartar on his teeth, and I did notice a lump on his left side. I'd describe it as a 2-centimeter soft, mobile, subcutaneous mass. The client had never noticed it before. So on the whole, he looks quite healthy. He does have some mild to moderate dental disease, and I think that the lump on his left side is most likely a benign lipoma, but we would need some testing to know for sure. I recommended to the client that we do a fine needle aspirate, and I quoted her $100. She declined to do that today, and we decided to simply monitor it. We did, however, give him a rabies vaccine. It was a 3-year vaccine. We administered it over his right hind leg, and I did mention to the client that she would want to watch for signs of lethargy or soreness over the next 24 to 48 hours. Those are pretty normal, but that if she saw anything else, that she should give us a call. So there is our case, and I'll pause the recording. You'll see the audio upload. I'll just mention that you can click resume here if you want to add additional audio information. You can layer things quite easily. And then we move on to step 2, which is generating a record from these inputs. And you can see the generate button down here. There's also 2 other buttons next to it, generate from favorites and generate from default. Today, I'm going to click generate from favorites, and I have 3 templates marked as my favorites. So a SOAP template, an email to the client, and a client or discharge summary. And you'll see that all 3 of those are generating simultaneously. They'll take about 30 seconds. While we're waiting for that, I'll just click in and show you the recording itself. So this is the raw transcript. You can play back the audio if you want. This is not a super useful medical document, but it's good to point out because if there's ever a complaints case or something like that, it's a really good documented point of truth. With that said, you can see our SOAP ready. So I'm going to click in there, and looking through the record, you can notice the case has named itself automatically based on the content of the recording. You can see that we've got a nice subjective or history section. In the objective section, everything that I called out specifically is bolded. The template that we've chosen is also filling in default normals, but those are settings that you guys can change. We've got a nice concise assessment and then a little summary of our plan and what we did today. So I'll just point out here, while you are in a record, you do want to make sure each record is complete and accurate. You can actually edit on the spot if you like, and you can also use these tools. So you can do things like creating abbreviations as you go. Let's say we've got right hind leg and I want to abbreviate that. I can turn that just into RH. I can categorize it if I want. I can dictate whether it should be used in client-facing information, and that will change not only on this record, but also on future records. If there's ever a misspelling, you can correct it this way, and snippets are useful for pulling in preset chunks of text. So you can either do that using this shortcut, or you can simply say, hey, Covet, use my snippet for whatever it is in this section of my record, and it will magically appear. So once you're happy with the record, I would suggest that you mark it as ready for export, especially if you're working as part of a team. It's good because it keeps everybody on the same page. And that brings us to the export process. So what do we do with this record now that we have it? And there's a few different ways to move information from Covet to your PIM system. Basically, we do have integrations with certain software. If there is an integration for your software, I would suggest that you use that as your most efficient way to move it. But Covet works well with any software. And so if there is no specific integration, you can do one of a few things. You can use something called our Google Chrome extension, and that is kind of a mini version of Covet that lives on the side of your web browser. And basically, if you open this up, you have access to these copy paste buttons. So you can copy section by section, or you can go copy all and paste that right into your practice management software. So that's option one. This setup works really nicely for web-based practice management software. If you have something that's not web-based, you have access to those same copy by section buttons here, or the copy all button, and you simply have your practice management software open in one window, Covet open in the other window, and it's easy to move it back and forth. Clicking out of there, I'll really quickly show you some of the other items that we have here. So we did write an email to the client at the same time. You can see just much less formal. Hi, how's it going? Here's a few key items from today. You could copy and paste that into Gmail or Outlook to send it to the client. And then we do have a more formal client or discharge summary. And the nice thing here is when you click on the PDF preview button, you'll see that you get a nice graphical PDF. So you can have your clinic logo at the top. You get some colors and icons and things like that. So try that out. You can customize it to your heart's content. So let's rewind for a second, just so I can show you a couple other important features. We'll click back to the case page. And first thing I'll point out, that client or discharge summary that we generated, we did so using the favorite groups, our shortcut button. You could also do it using this dedicated button at the top of the screen. When you click on that, the nice thing is you get to determine the language that the summary is going to come out in. So if your client speaks a different first language than you can send them home with a documentation that is easy for them to read. You can also choose which sections to include or not include. When you click generate, it should be ready for you in about 30 seconds. A couple other things to point out with generating records. Again, generating favorites generates a group of favorite templates, generates your single default template, or you can use this primary generate button to generate any template you want. And templates are really important in Covet. They're basically different instruction sets. The template you choose is going to determine the type of record you get out of the system. And there's a couple key things to note here. So I'll go into different templates and use cases in a moment. We have over 50 of them that come standard with Covet, and you can build custom templates as well. But you can multi-select first off. So if you wanted to create multiple documents at the same time, I should point out there are also summary and email templates. You can multi-select those as well. And in the event that you want to do something unique for a specific case, you can actually generate by description. So as opposed to choosing a template, you can just say, hey, I want you to write an email that goes over that and the other thing and references the case material. You would have to type it out here on web, but if you're using a mobile device, your device's text-to-speech function will allow you to simply speak out those instructions, and you can click generate. Two other little tricks here. So number one, this manage patient button in the top right is handy if you're dealing with multiple pets, so a double or triple appointment. If you add in the name of each patient, Covet will generate a separate record using whatever template you select for each patient. And it's really nice to split things out when you have those, again, large families coming in with multiple pets. And along the same line, if you ever have multiple pieces of content in a file, so we've got our original recording, but let's say we had ended up actually admitting Stephen to the hospital for a vaccine reaction, and I called the client later with an update. I've got another recording here. If I generate a record now, it's going to take both pieces of content into account. If I want to generate a record that only isolates this input, I can do that by clicking generate and then using select specific content. And here I would pick just that kind of phone call update. And if I wanted to summarize a phone call, I would go into this area, and I can always type phone to bring it up nice and quickly, and I might generate that note. So a couple handy tricks for you. And then we're going to move on to a totally separate use case. So this time the medical history button. And the idea here is you're seeing a new client, new patient. You need to walk into the room in 2 minutes, and you just received 50 or 60 or 100 pages of documentation from the previous vet. If you click medical history, you have the chance to upload a file from your computer. You'll browse your files. Once you pick the file, should upload pretty quickly. And you can then select which template you want to generate a summary from. You'll have a different selection here depending on how your account is set up. The detailed summary is probably the one to go for. And you would basically click the generate button, but I'm going to skip forward to save some time. I'll point out too, these arrows are nice, handy shortcuts. So I've basically prepped this case for us already. This is the document we uploaded. Personal information is scrubbed, but you can see it's a real medical file. And the summary brings it down to something digestible like this. So you can see problem list, vaccine information, medication, so on and so forth, little story at the end. And if you ever want to take it a step further, it's worth pointing out this Covet AI chat. So this actually allows you to talk to Covet and draw out more detailed and nuanced information about the case. It's like speaking to somebody who knows the input materials inside and out. You can see I asked about certain drugs up here, got an answer back, and asked for specific dates and specific diet information. So this should work either on PDF documentation or on audio information that you've recorded as well. Last but not least, I'd like to point out the other content button on this current case page. So Covet is a very flexible system. You can bring information in a number of different ways. We've already touched on recordings and things like the medical history upload, but you can also input raw text. So you can type anything you want there, or copy and paste in parts of a report, parts of a summary, parts of a medical record. Extract text is basically photographing handwriting and digitizing it. Images can be uploaded for safekeeping, so they're kept with everything else that has to do with the case. You can upload audio files, you can upload any PDF, and I would encourage you highly to check out the Just for Fun button. You guys will get a kick out of that. So that wraps up this screen, but I am going to quickly touch on a few other things in this left-hand column. I'll start with the Teams button. So you can create teams in Covet, name it whatever you want, and then invite team members using their email address. So the reason this is important is it allows you to interact, collaborate, and share cases, and things like the assign to and the case visibility field are important when you're working as part of a team. You can also share content. So if somebody creates a template or something called a snippet, you can send that to other users on your team. You can also leverage your support staff. So there are free support accounts for technicians, vet assistants, other team members who are assisting veterinarians in the record keeping process. They can start cases, create recordings, and export records on behalf of the veterinarian. The most powerful use case is a technician or assistant taking a patient history and publishing a history report to the veterinarian's account before they've even had time to walk down the hall. It's great. You have something written to review together before walking into the room to finish that visit. The export is another place where you can export your records, and it is a good way to stay organized, especially when you're working as part of a team. So you'll see that we do have one document here in the ready column. That's because if you remember, we updated the status badge at the bottom of the SOAP record we created for Stephen. So the idea is you could have a member of the support staff monitoring this column. When something lands there, they know you've finished looking at it, you've approved it, it's ready to go. All they have to do is they can do their exporting using copy paste buttons here, copy all button, or they could use the Google Chrome extension in a similar way, and then simply mark it as exported, and they know they have a clean sheet. So moving on to templates. Templates are an integral part of Covet. Again, they're basically different instruction sets that determine the type of record you get out of Covet. This is the place you would want to go to organize, review, edit your templates. we have over 50 that come standard. That number will be decreased based on the questions you answer at onboarding. And if you have ones that you don't want to use, you can simply hide those. If you have ones you really like, you can favorite them. And if there's one you run all the time, you can set that as your default. I'll point out here, you can share templates. So if you do create a custom template or you personalize one, basically click on the share template button. You can easily share it with your team, which means there's a dynamic copy. So if you make edits 2 weeks later, those edits will be visible to your teammates. You can either set it so they can only use it, or you can set it so they can edit it, in which case it will change your copy as well. So be wary. If you don't want that, you can share with a link or a code. This way, the person you're sharing with doesn't have to be on your team. You just send them the code or the link and they get a copy that is completely independent. If they make changes, it doesn't affect yours. I'll also point out with templates. So with our advanced templates, these are the most editable. You can go in and basically change anything you want in here. So you can drag and drop, reorder things if you want to. If there are some templates, or sorry, some elements that are off by default, you can turn them on, or likewise, you can turn things off. Oh, there we go. And you can go in and edit. So if you want a default normal finding, you can change the text there. You can change the text up here. You can change it into a large header, save that, and it will now always appear that way on future records using this template. If you do want to do something that's a little bit more out of the box and is not doable through these different elements, click on the Settings tab and the Personalize button. And here you can enter text-based instructions. So this basically piggybacks on the template instructions. You still benefit from our underlying template and the improvements that will happen over time, but your personalization will take precedent, and you can be very creative here. Basically do anything you want. If you ever have trouble getting that to work the way you want, send us an email. And same thing goes, if you are creating a custom template, you can start with this Add Template button. You can build anything you want. It's infinitely flexible. Emailing support@co.vet is a great way to get started here if you're not sure where to start. That brings us finally to the Find Cases page. This is just, again, a nice little handy navigation page. I'll point out the Select Multiple button is very useful if you want to take actions on multiple cases with a single click, whether that is generating templates or changing visibility, archiving, etc. So with that said, that brings us back to the current case page. We've come full circle. That's a great overview of Covet. I know we covered a lot in a little bit of time. We do have a help center. I would encourage you to check that out. There's a lot of great articles there. And again, reach out anytime if you need help. But in the meantime, I hope you have fun using Covet and that it saves you heaps of time. Thanks very much. Take care. Bye.